Get a motion to approve the minutes from January and February. Steve and Rob, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. We'll move on to informational items. We have first on our list the ETSB. Do you have anybody here today? I guess not. Okay. We'll move on to our PCAPS update. Hello, Becky.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So just a couple of quick updates. It's been a while. Our mobile services unit is doing wonderful. We are in production 3 days a week, doing about 10 surgeries a day, several surgeries for community members' animals, as well as, of course, lots of spay neuters for adopted animals. So things are going well there. Our animal intake, as you see from the reports, is at an all-time high. That continues to happen both here locally and across the country. Nothing we're not used to. I feel like it's old news at this point, but it's even kind of surpassing last year's numbers. So a little bit nerve-wracking there, but we're doing our best and moving through it. The last bit of information I wanted to share is that our intergovernmental agreements with the local municipalities for animal control services are going to be coming up due at the end of the year this year. So we will be looking at negotiating new agreements as well.
As far as the increase in the calls to service, can you tell us a little bit about why we're seeing that and why we're seeing that across the country?
So the increases in the animal intake. So there's a lot of factors, I think, playing into that. We're seeing an increase in stray animals, an increase in animals that people have surrendered to the shelter, and that's consistent with across the country. Back in 2020, shelters took about at least our shelter took a third decrease in the number of animals coming in. So I think some of that is rebound from those years. And I think that some of it is just as we rebound now, there was some probably multiplication of those animals that were out in the world, and we're getting all of those as well. The calls for service are actually down, and that is a testament to our officer population at PCAPS. We are finally fully staffed. Today was the day we hired our last employee to round out the team, so we're so very excited. But we've got now a lot of green folks that we got to get trained and doing some good work out there.
Do we have an update on the feral cat? Is it ordinance, what we did with that? The feral cats, releasing them into the...
Yes, so the Peoria County Board did vote to change the ordinance to allow for trap, neuter, vaccinate, return in unincorporated Peoria County areas. I actually have a group of UIC students who are doing their master's project and took on PCAPS as a capstone project to put a survey out to the community for a couple of months this spring. They are working on tallying those results and getting them back to us. By the end of the month, I should have a presentation that will tell me what the community has told us in regards to trap, neuter, vaccinate, return. So once I have that information back from that group, I'll be happy to share with the committee what those results were.
Nate.
I don't have a question, but when we cut the ribbon on the surgery van, I was one of the first people to sign up because I live in unincorporated Peoria County, and I have been attracting some nice Tommy cats. And so I did take advantage of the process. It was a effortless process, very easy, sign in, sign up, took my little Tommy cat in the morning and picked her back up. And now she refuses to leave, so she's now part of our cat family. But I did have a great experience with the new surgery van.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thanks. Anyone else? Thank you, Becky. We'll move on to our public defender report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kevin Lowe, Peoria County Public Defender. It's been a few months. It's good to see everyone again. Our office is doing well. Since the last report, I'm very excited because we added one full-time attorney. I know the last time I talked to everybody, it was all doom and gloom about how we can't find anybody and we need more help. But finally, we were able to add somebody, and I think a number of you, when you did your walk through our new office, she was actually there. Her name is Carol Parker, and she said hi to a few of you. So we're just really so excited about having her aboard, and she is in our felony division, making an immediate impact, I might add. So that's great. I'm also excited that we have, in about 2 weeks, we have a summer intern coming in. Her name is Randy Kurth. She's the younger sister of Alex Kurth, who used to work for our office, and he also used to work for the state's attorney's office. Then he used to work for the public defender's office in Tazewell County, and now he currently works for the state's attorney in Woodford County. So he's been going to a few different offices, but his sister is very interested in coming to work for us, at least at this point. So she's finishing up her second year in law school, and in about 2 weeks she'll be with us for a 10-week period as a temporary employee, as an intern, and she'll have what's called a 711 license pursuant to Supreme Court Rule 711. That means that she will be able to actually assist in some of the higher volume courtrooms, lower level, entry level courtrooms, such as traffic, maybe some DUI, maybe a little bit of misdemeanor, so long as she's there under supervision, which we're looking forward to as well, getting a little bit additional help over the summer. We are still looking for a full-time entry-level person. We still have ads that are in the local legalese, but I'm optimistic, again, because we have been conducting a number of interviews, and so far no commitments, but I have been talking to a number of people, so at least we're getting some response there. So everything, from my perspective, is look like we're going in the right direction. I'm optimistic about the months to come and heading into the summer. I know with this month's report, I finally have been able to have some time to sit down and generate at least a few statistics about the office and our caseload, percentage of cases coming our way, and I've attached that to the report, and I am confident that those reports and those statistics, those tables, are going to become more and more detailed and more insightful as I have more time to prepare these reports. So thank you very much.
Great. Any questions? Oh, yes, Steve.
One comment, one question. First off, thank you for the reports. It's insightful to see some of the data and the trends. One of the question is, for detention hearings, do you also get involved in detention appeals? Does that come to your department too?
It does, yeah, and I noted that on page 2 of the report, at least my letter. As far as our caseload, one of the things that we do pretty much exclusively, 100% of, would be the detention appeals, detention hearing appeals. Yeah, so the
When you cite it as detention hearing, then when I use the word appeal, that's the same definition, right? They're appeal hearings, or are they original detention hearings?
we have two separate things. We have
Okay.
the original detention hearing. So if you look at table 4, or no, sorry, table 3, detention hearings handled by month, quarter 1, 2024. Those are the actual detention hearings. The original detention hearings, the determination by a judge whether or not an individual charged with a qualifying offense will in fact be detained. And we are appointed by statute to handle that initial trial level hearing. And as you can see, we're appointed nearly 100% of the time. It's very rare to see a private counsel involved at that time. Now, once an individual is detained, that individual now has a right to appeal that decision. And that also comes back to us. The public defender, although there is an appellate defender's office in the state of Illinois that handles the majority of criminal appeals, the way they set this up was that we're going to burden the trial attorney, so to speak, with the process of the appeal itself. So we have to file now what's called a motion for relief after the decision's been made. We want to appeal that. It's something similar to what's called a motion to reconsider, where we have to set forth the legal argument on behalf of the defendant of why this decision was wrong, why it should be overturned by the appellate court. So in essence, we're doing an appeal we're doing an appeal argument, but it's not as involved as a regular appeal might be for a finished criminal case. It's like an abbreviated type of appeal.
And I guess my understanding is, after the Safety Act and the change, the increase in appeals has probably gone up. I don't know if you have stats on that and how that's impacting your workload. And then obviously the court's workload gets directly impacted in that same appeal, right? So I don't know if you have any general comments around the volume related to that.
Yeah, I don't know the specific numbers, but it was something, the increase in the number of appeals on the appellate, it was just, I mean, it was incredible, the increase that was generated specifically by pretrial fairness act detention appeals. And the courts, the appellate courts, were becoming overwhelmed with the volume of cases. So the first, basically 3 months here of this year, the procedure that we went through to appeal these cases was very abbreviated. We didn't have to do much legal argument. We checked a few boxes on a notice to appeal and sent it on its way to the appellate division of the State Office of State Appellate Defender. Because it was such a simple process, they got a lot of these appeals. And they have just recently changed the format, changed the way that we are handling them at the trial level to give us more work in an effort to, at least in part, to deter us from filing that many appeals. So while I anticipate this will mean fewer appeals, it means that those appeals that we're doing will have more involvement and more work with those appeals. But I might be able to get some numbers on the next week.
And actually on that, Steve, we have asked all kind of the players involved around the Safety Act, from the Sheriff's Department to the Public Defender, courts, state's attorney, everybody, to provide quarterly some type of update on what we're seeing, just knowing as members of this committee you might be asked what Peoria County is seeing. So it's nice to get the perspective from everybody who's involved in some way. So we'll have kind of an ongoing update, not a comprehensive update, but just kind of a refresher on what each individual aspect is kind of seeing from their perspective. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
I did have one question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you.
Sometimes you don't look on this side of the room.
I will do that more often.
Thank you. I would, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I would echo Member Ricker's comments on the report. First time I've seen it, and it was very eye-opening to see the amount of support that we give to defendants. That I was under the impression more of them had private attorneys, but obviously you've got quite a workload. And on that, and this is just a general question as to mindset. If I was a private practice attorney, I would have a win and a loss, Can you explain the mindset of the public defenders in terms of wins and losses? Because they're not on this report, obviously, but obviously, what mindset do you look at when looking at that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. In fact, up to 2018, I had been private counsel and had an independent contract with the Public Defender's Office. So I've seen it from the perspective of a private defense counsel versus now, since 2018, full-time public defense work. And I can really only speak from my own experience, but as far as win and loss, you really consider it a win when you've done the best you possibly can for your client, even though it may have resulted in a guilty plea. But if you've achieved a favorable result given the circumstances, then you chalk it up as a win. It's very difficult to try to throw a statistic on it and therefore report how many cases have gone to trial of that, what percentage of the Public Defender's Office handled, and of those, how many were guilty versus not guilty verdicts. That's not a very meaningful statistic, I think. It's almost like you compare it to baseball. If you're batting .350, I mean, you're an all-star, right? Even though you're making out more often than you get hit. But I oftentimes, when people ask me something similar, I kind of analogize it to the game of baseball, where you just do the best you can, even though percentage-wise you might be batting a pretty low level, you're still doing pretty well. So I hope that gives you some insight.
It does, thank you.
And, and one little other thing I touch on, you note that perhaps people are surprised by the percentage of the cases that we actually represent within Peoria County, our office. That's one of the reasons in this initial statistics that I provided the table, that I provided the DUI statistics, because statistically, that is the courtroom that we are least involved. That is the lowest percentage of cases that we are appointed to in any of the courtrooms and anything that we do here. And still, as I say in my letter or my report, it hovers around 50%, if not more. I think one of those quarters was 55%. And it'll ebb and flow. I suspect it'll be anywhere between 45 to 55% when you average it out. But again, that's our courtroom with the least amount of participation from our office, and just goes up from there to the point where on page 2 of my report, under caseload, I talk about all these other areas that people sometimes forget we get involved in, or we have to represent people, particularly something like petitions to revoke probation, where we're handling essentially 100% of the cases. It's extremely rare to see a private counsel in a petition to revoke probation hearing. And people tend to forget about those types of cases. So anyway, thank you for the observation. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you. Scott, I believe you'll be handling the...
I will, Madam Chair. As we previously reported, all the committees once a quarter will provide a written update to each of the committees in terms of a comprehensive look at all of the 19 goals or action items that are in the strategic plan. This committee has one, and it shares it with County Health Committee, and that is the Community Investment Strategy. You'll note that there's no activity in the first quarter of this year because the 19 goals are, from a workflow standpoint, are spread out over multiple years, and goal number 19 is slated to start in the first quarter of next year. So wouldn't really expect you to see any activity until late this year when we start to assemble the team. If you look out through the rest of the report, you'll see that every goal has a team leader and team members that are charged with fulfilling whatever the outcome is for each one of those items. Here with the community investment strategy, we just have we've identified team lead, but we've not identified any team members yet. That'll start to happen late this year, and then it'll get underway in the first quarter of next year. Happy to answer any questions about the community investment strategy or any other component that you found in the update.
Any questions? All right. Thank you, Scott. We'll move on to our only resolution we have today, our drug testing services. Can I get a motion? Danny and Nate. Thank you. All right. Hi, Brian.
Hello, good afternoon. Brian Brown, I'm the Director of Court Services, and I have Rob Asman as our Chief PO. So the resolution you have before you today is for our drug testing program. Give a little bit of background, try to be as detailed as possible on the agenda briefing. We purchased an in-house analyzer back in 2013. That is no longer serviceable. We need a new machine, so that spurred us to send out an RFP for comprehensive drug testing services. So we did submit an RFP, 3 different options for on-site collection, buying a new machine, comprehensive shipping it out to a laboratory, and kind of did a cost analysis of that with operational impacts. So the RFP, we got 7 vendors that responded. Not all the vendors responded to all of the options, but we separated that out. The evaluation committee looked at it and the benefits, and so we were asked to enter into a contract with Cordant Laboratory Health Services. They're out in Indianapolis. They would actually have 2 staff on site for 6 hours, and would conduct all the urine analysis and then ship it off daily, and we'd have results their staff, their time to do that work that they get paid to do. So we do look at it as a cost savings. If you extrapolate out the cost of having our staff compared to what they're paid, it's about a $45,000 savings from what we would be doing currently if we bought a new machine. That new machine was approximately $38,000, and then there's a bunch of other chemicals and supplies that goes along with that. So that was all factored into the recommendation before you today.
Thank you for mentioning the savings from contracting out versus the alternative. Any questions regarding this resolution? All right, we'll let them off the hook easy then.
Yeah, it's easy.
All right, all in favor of the resolution in front of you? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ayes
Thank
have
you.
it. Move on to public comment. Seeing none. Miscellaneous. Anything, Nate? All right, we will adjourn.
When they come to motions and seconds, this side of the room is always void on them.
Especially when Jeff
Yeah,
was
if you were to do a statistical analysis of motions and seconds, it's that side.